If you are a beginner gardener and you're feeling like you're never going to get your garden as good as all those ones you see on the internet, well, don't panic, because there is no rule that says your garden needs to look a certain way, and there is more than enough time to grow yourself lots of food, or just some food this year. And don't rush to put seedlings out in the garden. We still have plenty of frost and possibly even snow in the next couple of months. Not that I'm predicting the weather, I'm just saying that, you know, it's not unlikely that there will be some pretty grim weather ahead of us. Although, look at that sky behind me. Doesn't that look wonderful? It's been almost 3 weeks since I picked up the camera and showed you what was going on in the garden. So let's have a little look at what's been happening in late February at Byther Farm. So nearly 3 weeks ago, I went to visit a friend. Unfortunately, I came home with slightly more than just smiles. And I've been in bed with the dreaded bug for the last 17 days or something. It feels like forever. But I'm up and about again now. I'm taking it very slowly to recover, but I have been doing some stuff in the garden in very small steps. So it's only in the last couple of days I have got back outside and I'm enjoying myself again. And so yesterday I came back out into the garden with Dave the hero and started on the next project in the food forest. So my last video here in the garden, I told you about the 2 decisions I made for changes, and one of those is that I will no longer be keeping bees on site, and the other one is that I'm going to move all the plants from what will eventually be the flower field up into the food forest, at least for the next few years. I can always then divide them up and move them when I'm ready, but I want to concentrate on making this area really lovely and really manageable. And the next door neighbour's sheep wholeheartedly agree with me. So I want to get that sorted. And one of the things that has happened is that Dave the hero has asked me to put in beds in here to define the edges with wood or with some sort of edging, so that, thank you darling, so that when we're mowing and trimming, there's no risk of running over plants, and we can see what needs to be weeded and what doesn't. And so yesterday we started lifting the raised bed frames from the flower garden and bringing them up here. So I've got 2 rows done. There are the raised bed frames, and then some 2x4s that are 12 feet long, and then another of the frames, and so it goes on. And these will get all joined together before too long to create these new slightly raised beds, which will give a defined edge, so that when we're cutting the grass in here, it's quite clear where we're cutting and where we're not. So the ducks have been in enforced lockdown, where they have to be kept under cover, and we're lucky enough to have this old barn that we've made secure for them. So Dave the hero and I last year put up masses of netting inside and outside, blocked up all the gaps so that wild birds can't get in here, and hopefully it is fox proof as well. So they live in here, and we put a house for them to sleep in at night. So each day we come in, let them out of the house, feed them and give them fresh water, and they're in here. They are not happy. They are really fed up. The boy has kind of stopped preening himself, and they're not in a great space. They've given up laying. They're not getting enough light in here to trigger them to lay. So all in all, it's not much fun for them. So at the start of February, when I had made that decision to move things up to the food forest, I put down the heavy duty cornstarch weed suppressing membrane in a long row, a couple of long rows along here, at the bottom end, the lower end of the food forest, and have placed out on it loads and loads of plants, mostly shrubs, that are going in here. And my plan was to have a volunteering day where many of you could come, help me plant some plants, have a look round, have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and this would get magically transformed into a new shrubbery. However, I then got ill, so that has been delayed. And if you'd like to join in with one of those volunteering days here at Byther Farm, you can find out more in my newsletter, and I'll leave the link in the video description, or just head over to the website bytherfarm.com and sign up for the newsletter there. Just behind me here is the little wildlife pond I made next to the polytunnel, and I can't see any signs of frog spawn as yet, but I'm still hopeful and there's still plenty of time. I'm really pleased to see that in the runway between the top and the lower part of our gardens, which I've planted thousands of daffodils in. I planted 1,000 the year before last and 1,000 last November. They are really starting to come up now, and so hopefully it won't be too long before we have a really good display here. So most of the garden preparation that I'd hoped to do during February didn't get done, but that's okay because there's still plenty of time before the season really starts. I've bought in some wood chips, so I've got 2 loads of wood chips there, which I had started moving up to the veg garden and refreshing the pathways there. And I've also got an enormous pile of manure on this side, which has been here for many years, and I still haven't got all of that moved. In fact, I've hardly got any of that moved. But given that I'm finding breathing quite difficult, I'm certainly not going to be moving great swathes of wood chips or manure anytime soon. So I'm going to have to rely on Mr. J and David Hero and any friends and volunteers who are happy to come and help do that sort of thing until my lungs are fully repaired and I can work at full steam ahead once again. At the start of the month I came through about half the beds in the veg garden and cleared weeds and any dead woody material, and some of it I left on purpose, some of it I've piled over things like dahlia tubers and yacon tubers in the hope that that will protect them a little bit, although we've already been through the coldest part of the year, so touch and go whether they've survived or not. But I have done about half of the garden has been kind of tidied as much as I want to tidy it. And the next step for these beds was to get duck bedding on them to use as a mulch to reduce the chances of weeds growing in them, to lock in the moisture that's in there and just keep them tidied up. And then as time went on, that would break down and the worms would come up and do their thing and take that down into the soil, add organic matter and improve those beds. But that's also put on hold until such time as I can get that mulch up here and actually get it onto the beds. If you want to know a bit more about how I grow and harvest, prepare and store all the vegetables that I grow in the garden, I've written a book. It's called The Seasoned Gardener and it's now available to pre-order. It will be published in the spring in the UK and late spring in USA. And you can find it on Amazon, on other online stores. But if you want a signed copy and if you want to support me the most, you can order it from my website at bytherfarm.com/books. And here inside the polytunnel, well, I haven't been doing anything, but nature has been at her full force doing some amazing, amazing things. Look at this beautiful apricot. So absolutely covered in blossoms. I'm so pleased. So this is growing in a 30-litre tub. It's been here for over a year and it is actually waiting for us to finish putting up a second polytunnel and it will go in there. And likewise there are nectarines and peaches just coming into bud now. Oh, this makes me very excited. And this is a peach and the variety is Peregrine. I've had the fruits of these before and I really like the taste of them. So this tree was planted into the polytunnel well over a year ago now, and we just let it grow, and then in the autumn Miss Joan, I put in these posts, one at each end of this section, and have run some fairly heavy duty wire going across it so that we can try and train this into a vague fan shape. And I've done that by lowering the branches, easing them gently down and securing them to the wire using a stretchy cable, so it's a stretchy twine type thing, which means that it won't cut into the bark of the peach tree. And the idea is that we will just bit by bit train this out. The flowers, oh, I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited. I'm going to be hand pollinating these using a children's paintbrush, because the doors of the polytunnel are still closed, so there aren't any pollinators actually inside at the moment. So I am going to be the little bumblebee or little insect going along from flower to flower and hopefully moving the pollen to each, to allow us to have some fruit on this tree this year. And at this end of the polytunnel is another of the peach peregrine. This one I'm allowing to grow as a tree, and I'm not sure as yet whether we'll keep it in here or lift it and put it into the food forest, because it's already reached the roof of the polytunnel and I've had to cut it back. I can see that this year it's going to be up on the top of the polytunnel very quickly. Now, I had wanted to lift this while it was still dormant, and it's obviously started into life again. So maybe this year it will have to stay in here and I'll have to cut it back in June or July, cut it back quite hard and then move it next winter. It's going to be one of those things that I'm going to have to monitor on an ongoing basis. There are a couple of beds in the polytunnel that have got quite a lot growing in them. So this one has romaine lettuce and parsley and also plenty of nigella, which I'm probably going to be transplanting to outside before too long. And this little bed has also got salads in it, and there's some beet leaves and some lettuce, as well as a few perennial herbs. Hanging in the polytunnel are things like sweet peas, which very definitely need water. And there are also a couple of baskets suspended from wires above, and these have got young lupins in them, and the reason they're raised up is to prevent mice and other things like voles from getting at them. But I do need to remember to come in and water them very regularly. And sadly, I haven't been able to do that for a couple of weeks. So, is it a problem that I seem to be, far behind where I wanted to be in the garden? No. Nature will catch up, and I will catch up. It's the first week of March, and there is so much time to get masses done. And the only person putting any pressure on me is me and my expectations. And so this year I've just had to decide I'm going to be kind to myself and be very slow in getting the garden ready and getting it set up for the 2023 season. And I'm pretty pleased with how it's looking. Nature will do her thing and do her best, and because after all, nature just wants to grow.